Hey all, at long last I'm finally releasing my posture video for gamers. Of course, this will have application to anyone who uses the computer, but it's going to be a little bit more specific to gamers. We'll throw in some edgy memes or something to keep you entertained, but really anyone who sits at a computer is going to benefit from this information. Gaming is my passion, but so is posture and health and wellness and movement. Professionally, I'm a chiropractor, so that's where my knowledge base is, and so I'm going to be sharing with you tips and tricks to improve your seated posture, your standing posture. So we'll go over all the pros and cons of that kind of stuff. The big takeaway from this video is that there is no one good posture, because being in any one posture for a long time is just not good. Our bodies are designed to move. And so if you sit for a long time, there are consequences. If you stand for a long time, there are consequences. So ultimately, the best thing to do is to sit and then stand. Sit, stand. I have a walking pad. I use the walking pad. So I'm trying to constantly change the position I'm in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over all of those different things. So what we're going to go over in this video is seated posture, standing posture, using the walking pad, and then we're going to even talk about, yes, the dreaded console gamer and how you can improve your posture while on the couch, because being in a computer chair on a computer is very different than sitting on a couch holding a console game, right? So we're going to cover all of that, and then at the very end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple very beneficial stretches and different things like that that is going to help counteract prolonged sitting, because sitting for a long time makes certain muscles really tight. So if you find this video helpful, please give me a like and a subscription if you feel the desire as well. I just hit 5,000 subs, which is a cool milestone. Hit that live on stream the other day. You'll go be 5,000? All right, let's pull it back up. Oh, it just went to 5,001. I don't know. Were you the 5,000 or were you 5,001? We'll never know, but I appreciate it. There we go, 5,000 subs. I appreciate it. So anyways, let's get into the video here. And in order to cover all of this information, we need to have a different perspective. And so I can't just be talking to you in the webcam. I need you to see my whole body. So let's change the perspective. And if I do say so myself, I think I look pretty darn good from the side. Wouldn't you agree? All right, so here we are at my desk, and this is a desk that has the capacity to go up and down, and not everyone has that. I get it. I'm showing you the ideal, and you're just gonna have to do the best you can do. So one thing I really enjoy in gaming, even though there is a lot of toxicity, every now and then in like the general chat, someone will just type like posture check or something like that. And I think that is, shining example of a good side of the positivity of online gaming, even though there is a lot of toxicity and whatnot. And so when you're playing a game and you see someone type posture check into the chat, well, what does that mean? That's what we're going to go over. Most likely, a lot of people, they're on the computer and they're kind of like this, like they're hunching forward, right? And that's not good. That's not good. So let's talk about first seated position and what is the ideal seated position. So what I want to quickly do here is make sure I am properly teaching you how to sit in a chair. So we're going to go over a couple images that illustrate things better than me sitting in a chair can sometimes do. And we'll have some laughs along the way. So these two pillows here, this is your lumbar and cervical support. The curves of your spine are such that you see this curve here. You have a curve in the neck, and it's kind of like a backwards C. And same thing for the low back. A backwards C you can see right there. And we want to maintain those curves. When we slouch forward, our neck loses the curve, right? So this pillow here that moves up and down, if it's too high up, it's not doing its job. It has to be in the nice curve of my neck. And so what we want to make sure is that this, especially this lumbar pillow, with gravity, it could go all the way down to the bottom, and that might not be sufficient. So maybe you need to slide it up a little bit and get it at that correct height. Overall, this chair seems okay. A couple things we notice here is that, first of all, there's not, he has, you can see his cervical curve there, but he doesn't actually have a cervical support. I think this headrest might be too high. I'm not sure 100% how this chair works, but there is a similar chair I'm about to show you, and this part goes in the small of their neck. So I think he's maybe using his chair wrong. And you know, it's interesting because you can buy an ergonomic chair, but if you don't use it properly, you're no better off. You have to use it properly. So the main thing I want to show with this one is, check it out. He's not using his armrest. He's using the desk. And you can do that. If you put the armrests really low, right? Like, I mean, I suppose I could do that right now. If I put my armrests really low, I could slide forward a lot and then use my desk. I could do that. That is something I could do. Personally, I like to use my my armrests, but it's an option. However, I think it depends on the workspace that you have and so on and so forth. So I'm going to move my armrests back up. Now this picture, check it out. See, she's got that beautiful cervical curve. And when your neck is supported in this position, it just feels like $1,000,000. And her lumbar spine is supported as well. But the main thing to check out with this image is, you see this nice angle? Because she's not vertical and she's back a little bit, there's just no way she could slouch. Gravity is doing its job, and it's just relaxed back. Now, I don't know how well this chair and this desk are going to go together, but how she's sitting is great. I don't know why her eyes are closed. Now, this picture kind of made me laugh simply because his posture is good and all, but this chair, like, this is like, who's the guy? Atlas holding up that rock. He's like, ah. And, you know, if this chair could speak when he's sitting on it, I think he would just be like in Spider-Man when he's got the trains and he's just like, ah, or something, like, just, oh man, this chair's struggling. But I think that when you don't have a headrest, what can happen is slouching becomes a thing. When I saw this, I just laughed because this is like, hey, we're at a standing desk, but I'm too lazy to stand. I'm going to put my knees on this thing and lean back into this thing. Though I have done something similar before, not with a big contraption like this, but at my standing desk, I've used one of those big blue Swiss balls for exercising, and I kind of like leaned my knees into that, and that felt nice. Heck, I've literally balanced on those balls. I've watched like entire movies just balancing on those balls. But this just seems like a little bit too much for me. Oh, how did that picture of me get in there? Oh, god damn. I never tried one of these chairs before. I think for the short term it could feel nice, but long term, after like 8 hours on this thing, you might be like, nah. Now, personally, what I would tell her, push that chair in so that her arms are not reaching. You see how her arms are reaching? I want her elbows, her arms here. This is where her elbow should be. Boom, beam, boom, like a T-Rex. T-Rex arms, just like this. And so just move closer. And then as a result, desk needs to be higher or laptop placed on a box. Oh, that's my old chair. I replaced it with the new one. I've never tried one of these, but it looks like a comfortable thing to be on. You might switch it out. You might use it for a bit, then use like a normal chair, but I think it looks pretty comfortable. And I'm a cyclist, so I would totally game on this, man. You go fast. This is a speed running chair right here. So first of all, when we are standing, that is going to put essentially 100% pressure on our discs in the lumbar spine. That's going to be like, we'll just call that the baseline. If you're laying down, it's like a quarter of that. It's like 0.25. If standing is 1. Sitting is like 1.4. If you're sitting up just straight, that's like 1.4 times pressure. If you're sitting with a slight recline, that's like 1.05, 1.1. So almost the same as standing. And that standing is totally fine, that baseline pressure. But if we sit and slouch forward like this is putting on our low back at minimum, upwards of like 2.8 times pressure on our low back. It's a huge increase in pressure on the low back, and it's not good. Not good for a long time. What it also does when we slouch is, you see how my ears are in front of my shoulders? That puts a lot of strain on all the muscles, all of these postural muscles on the back of my neck and shoulders, and that will make those be very tight. And so what we need to do is keep our ears over our shoulders and our shoulders over our hips, whether we're sitting or standing. And that's why we always want to keep our head on the headrest, if you have a headrest, and definitely the back on the backrest. Any chair worth its salt is going to have a slight recline, a very slight recline, okay? Because what this is going to do is take that pressure off the low back. And then we want armrests, and we want to use them. They're called armrests because we rest our arm on them. And when we rest our arm on the armrest, what that's going to do is make these muscles here, our upper trap muscles, not have to support the weight of our arm all day long. When I'm treating patients like barber, hairdresser, that kind of thing, anyone who has to just hold their hands out in front of them cutting hair, they're always so tight in here. And what we're going to do later on is cover different stretches and exercises to help to balance the body, because essentially when we're in a poor posture, it causes imbalance. It causes certain muscles to become tight and certain muscles to become weak. And so we'll discuss that later. But right now, what we're looking for in a chair is backrest, an armrest, hopefully a headrest. Now this chair, It's an okay chair. It's one of your stock gaming chairs. I think it was like $250 or $300. It's okay. I'm not even going to say the brand. I can't even think of what the brand is. I'm not here trying to sell you a chair. This is the only gaming chair I've ever owned, so I can't even begin to tell you like what's better or worse. But with anything, you're gonna get what you pay for, right? And so it's an okay chair. It's mass produced. When you pull this thing out of the box, you can tell that. This is not like, whoa, this is the nicest chair I've ever sat on. No, it's kind of a hard plastic, cheap something or other, covered in like a little bit of foam. It's just a very basic chair, but it works. We have adjustable armrests, and the level of adjustment that you want it to be at, roughly when you're sitting, is when your arms are like just sitting at your side, the armrest should be roughly around there, maybe a little bit higher. So I find this to be pretty comfortable. Also, these armrests are pretty wide, and so that's why I have them a bit higher. If the armrests happen to be really close to my body, then I would have them a little bit lower. But because I have to kind of flare my arms out to use these armrests, having them just a touch higher is very comfortable here on my shoulders. Then we want our keyboard to be within reach of our hands, right? We don't want to be reaching for the keyboard. We want our arms in line with our body, because if we're reaching out too far, this might cause us to lean forward. So when I'm at the computer, I'll pull the laptop towards me a little bit, and here my arm, it's very close to me, and my arm over here, again, it's close to me. I'm not reaching out. I keep my arms close to me, and I'm in a very comfortable position here, okay? And I can be here for a long period of time. So that is just the general ideal for sitting. Now I will make a note that I use a laptop, right? And the screen is fixed. Whereas ideally, your eyeballs should look straight forward and look at the computer monitor. My laptop is a little bit lower, and so what I always make sure I do is I use my eyeballs and I just kind of glance down, right? Instead of moving my head down and keeping my eyeballs straight forward and moving my head down, I keep my head up and I just move my eyeballs down. And that little nuance makes a big difference. Let's talk about the negative side of sitting. Sitting for a long time, it's sedentary. So even if you sit in a perfect position, what you're still doing is you're sitting. It's sedentary. And when you're sitting, your hamstrings are in a shortened position and your hip flexors are in a shortened position. So you can see here, when I'm sitting, my hip flexors here, I know the armrest is a little bit in the way, my hip flexors here, they're bent and they're in a shortened position. So I'll show you how to stretch the hip flexors later. And my hamstrings, they're like, my legs are also bent. And what that does is it causes the hamstrings to tighten up and shorten up over time. Studies have shown that people who tend to have tight hamstrings are a little bit more likely to have low back pain. So it doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but it's maybe going to increase the likelihood a little bit. Now let's talk about our standing position. All right, so let's get into standing posture. This is my standing pad. I've got two. One is just a flat, nice foam thing, but this is another really cool one. You see it's got this little ball there in the middle, and then the sides of it are kind of flanged and angled. And what this does is it allows us to kind of massage our feet and stand in different positions as we're standing, instead of just standing on the flat, squishy foam surface. So this is definitely good. So here I am standing, right? And I can stand here on the pad. If I want to move around a bit, I could stand on the different surfaces, because sometimes when you're standing for a long period of time, you don't want to just stand statically. Yes, you can stand like this for a while, but maybe after a half hour, you're like, you know what? I want to move my legs a bit. I'm going to stand up here. Maybe my foot's getting a little bit tired or whatever. Maybe I'm going to stand on this ball. It's going to massage the bottom of my foot, while I'm typing away, right? I can still be doing that. But regardless, like I said before, ears over my shoulders, shoulders over the hips, with a slight bend in the knees. Ideally, when we're standing, we don't want to lock our knees out. We don't want to lock our knees out for a long period of time. I think it's a lot better to just be a little bit soft, a little bit of a bend in the knees so the muscles are engaged. Again, the level of our arms should be roughly around the elbow height. So let's just raise this up a touch. And that's good, see? My hand and my elbow is level with the desk here. And then here I am able to type like this. Now, when we're standing, this is when, if we have a low monitor like my laptop, we can get in trouble if we don't have the good habits of keeping our head over our shoulders. You really got to ingrain that into your posture. And in the beginning, like I can show you pictures of when I was like 18 years old. My posture was horrendous. It's a habit, right? It's just a habit. You got to create good habits. And so when we're standing like this, if you're trying to fix your posture, quite often you will revert to this. Your head will just come forward, and you got to nope. So the cues that I use for good posture while standing: top of my head, like there's a string pulling me tall. I'm just pulling me tall. Then I just want my shoulders to be relaxed. And I imagine my shoulder blades, they have like an anchor on them, just pulling down heavy. I'm not contracting them. I'm not pulling them down. We don't want to ever, with our posture, add tension. We don't want to ever, with our posture, force ourselves into a position for like all day long. So don't think, oh, I gotta pop my chest out and I'm gonna squeeze my shoulder blades back. Look how good my posture is. You're gonna kill your back doing that kind of stuff. What we want to do is relax into good posture, right? So again, head, ears over shoulders, and just relaxing the shoulder blades down, just relaxing them down. We don't want our rib cage to flare. We don't want it to flare up, so we just relax that down. And we relax our head back. In the beginning, you might have tightness in the neck, restricting the ability of the neck to go back. That's why I will show you some stretches and exercises, mobility techniques after, where we can regain the ability to bring the head back. Because if you spend years of your head out here, it's not gonna go back. We want to close the drawer. We want to shut that drawer, push it all the way back, but you got papers and crap behind there, it's not going to go. And so this might take time to be able to get comfortably in these postures. So this is your standing position, right? Let's talk about walking. So I'm going to hook up the walking pad. Here we are on the walking pad. And because the walking pad is a tiny little bit higher, I might raise this up a touch more just to keep those same proportions. Now this walking pad, it cost me, I think it's about $150. And I think it's a great investment because it allows me to just get steps and movement in while I'm doing something that is innately sedentary, right? If I'm going to be playing the game for a long time, I can at least move. And it took some practice, right? But I'm an incredible gamer, so it was very easy for me to walk while poning noobs. So let's turn it on. We're just gonna start it up. And so this is at 0.6. I'm not sure if it's miles per hour or kilometers an hour, but I usually do it a lot faster than this because it's so slow, right? It's so slow that it's almost awkward to walk. I feel a little bit robotic. So I'm just gonna increase the pace a little bit. That's 1.4, 1.6. 1.6 feels like a pretty good, just moving pace, right? And so I can be playing the game or typing or doing whatever. And, you know, if you've ever used a treadmill, which I actually never have, that's not really my style of thing. It doesn't have handrails or anything like that. You're walking on a fairly narrow moving pad, and I've had the occasional speed wobble, but when you have your hands on the desk, on the mouse, on the keyboard, it gives you a little bit of a bearing of where you are. And you know, sometimes I'll really crank this up, not to a running speed because you're gonna probably hurt yourself, but it's when you're running, it's difficult to be precise on the keyboard, right? This is meant for walking, not running or doing anything. Although if you were going to just be watching TV or something, you could. Now, when I'm walking, what I try to do is imagine like you're in a really fast car or you're in a spaceship taking off, and your head is like getting pulled back, because I do find when walking, sometimes it's easy to forget about the posture, and when you're walking, you might sometimes get a bit of a forward lean because you're like, I gotta stay on the treadmill, and we don't want that. So when I'm walking, I just walk tall, so as to not have any sort of slouching. But again, what's it look like if I crank it up? That's at 2.5. So, I mean, I could do some stuff at this level, but this is when it starts to get like, I wouldn't be able to do things super accurately. I might mess up a lot, and so in terms of actively typing or playing, this would just be for like watching a show or something. Just so you can have a different perspective on the walking pad setup. So here's a picture. It only takes me like 90 seconds to set up. I just have to push this kind of brown wooden box you see, just twist it to the side. I made that out of some scrap. It's nice to put my feet on if I ever want to put my kind of like have a little footrest while I'm sitting. Otherwise, it just holds the printer and keeps some stuff off the ground. So like I said, I don't own a couch and I don't play console games, but some people do. And using the principles we've discussed on how to have better posture while sitting, it's all about supporting the arms, right? And so what you can see here is this guy, he's playing on the couch and just having the arms supported by this inflatable pillow. I don't get any sort of kickbacks from any of these companies. The pillow's $30. It seems like a pretty affordable investment. And you can also, you're ordering it from this company. You can get stuff on Amazon. We all know how... do we need to give Jeff Bezos more money? That's up to you. But there's a lot of different options on Amazon as well. I'm not endorsing any of these. These can be used for gaming. You can see this guy here. You have like all sorts of little different devices. They're good for laptops and sitting on the couch. Here's a guy. I'm not sure how his mouse is working on this device, but a lot of different options here. You're probably going to get what you pay for, but if this is something that's going to help you, I'll let you do your own research and come to your own conclusion. But getting something like this would help a lot. Before we get into some of the different stretches and mobility techniques that I think could really help you, let's just cover the pros and cons of sitting, standing, walking, right? So with sitting, the main cons are that it is it's sedentary. You're going to have promotion of tightening of your hip flexors and your hamstrings, and it has the highest potential of putting strain on your neck and low back if you're slouching. Standing requires a standing desk, right? Sitting is very convenient. You're always going to have like a chair, but standing, it requires a different setup. You know, whether you're buying an external thing that you can put on your desk, because those do exist, right? You can put something on your desk that'll turn a normal desk into a desk that can go up and down. It's just like this, I'll put a picture, but it's like a contraption that kind of rises and lowers. So a standing desk requires additional investment. Standing for a long time could be tiresome on the feet, blood pooling in the legs because of gravity. But again, we don't want to sit for a long time. We don't want to stand for a long time. It's all about the mixture of the two. Walking is further investment, and you can't always walk. You know, if you're having to do something that's taking a lot of mental energy, you could do some slow walking, but it's like walking and chewing bubble gum. You're multitasking, and it might distract you from certain things that are really taking a lot of your mental energy. If you're just doing something that's super easy, yeah, you can walk and like do basic stuff. But sometimes it might be difficult to do what you need to do on the computer plus walk. But it is good for just getting moving, getting the heart rate going, getting the muscle pump, because walking has the muscles, every time they contract, they're going to send blood back towards the heart and help reduce the blood pooling, whereas standing, it tends to stagnate. You could also argue that you're not going to want to walk for 10 hours. You're just going to fatigue yourself. So you do need some rest. Sitting is very restful. So it's good to have some rest as well. So hope that makes sense in terms of the pros and cons and that kind of stuff. Ultimately, we want to do them all. We want to sit, we want to stand, we want to walk, we want to do it all. If we can. That's the ideal. Welcome to my little gym here. We're already in the first stretch. This is going to open up your hips and stretch your glutes, your butt cheeks. And so basically what we do is we're going to take our one foot and cross it onto the other knee. So my foot just goes in the crease of that knee here, and the other foot is in the other crease of the knee on the bottom. And some people might actually find crossing their legs to be difficult because things are so tight. When they cross their legs, like they might be sitting like this. That would be a sign of tight glutes. Now, I don't want to go too deep dive into how to test for things, but baseline, we want to be able to cross our legs. Then what we want to be able to do is put our forearms on the ground. So we should be able to just relax our forearms onto the ground here. From there, we would like to work towards getting our forehead on the ground. And you can do that by making 2 fists and putting your forehead on the fists. Then you could do 1 fist. You could do 2 hands, 1 hand, and then get it onto the ground. And we want to just be able to relax forward into that. Stretching our hamstrings is another one. There are so many hamstring stretches out there. I mean, you can Google that. The most basic, you stick your leg out and you are going to reach for the hamstring. Now, I haven't, warmed up or stretched at all. I'm not like Gumby or crazy flexible, but we want to be able to reach for our toes at the very least. Then hip flexors at the front, okay? And so how we're gonna stretch this is in a lunge position. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the back leg on the ground. On a soft surface, this is the leg that we're gonna be stretching. The other leg, it's gonna be forward a decent amount. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna lean forward and you'll feel a stretch in your back hip. We don't want the front leg to be so close to us that now our knee is going over our toe. There's nothing wrong with your knee going over your toe. It's just not going to be relaxing. It's going to be like an exercise, and we want to be able to relax into it. So when our leg is further out, it allows us to just hold this position. If you feel like the stretch is not really working that much, your hips might be open here. We want to close them and really lean your hip towards your knee at the front. A little bonus stretch here. If you want to stretch your quadriceps, you can grab from behind and pull your foot to your butt. So those are hip stretches. Those are the big ones. Now let's talk about neck stretching and neck mobility. So just moving the neck is good, right? Because a lot of times if we're just on the computer, our neck is not moving around. It's very stationary. We want to move our neck within its range of motion. So there's an awesome exercise that I call yes, no, maybe. And what you're going to do is you're just going to do those motions. You're going to do the yes motion. You're going to look up and you're going to look down. And you're going to do this at least 10 times. Up and down, up and down. Then you're going to do the no motion. You're going to look all the way to the left and right. No, no, no. And you're going to do that at least 10 times, but you could do it more times. You could do it 100 times. You could just sit there and you might be going left and right and maybe like, oh, this feels really good. And you just keep going and you just keep going. Then we have maybe, and maybe is going to be the side to side motion. And so you're going to side, 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 side. We can combine that and do a neck circle, right? Essentially combining those is going to be a neck circle. You might sometimes find that one direction of your neck doesn't move particularly well. And so you could really focus on it. You could be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go back and forth in this range of motion. That is working the segmental, the joints. If we want to stretch the muscles, we're going to grab our head and we're going to gently pull to the side. And we're going to relax into this position for at least 30 seconds, but upwards of a minute. We can pull to the side. We can pull chin to armpit. You can do that on both sides. Hold those 1 minute per side. That's 4 directions. That's 4 minutes. If you do that every day, you're going to feel a lot better in your neck. And that's one final thing you might benefit from is neck strengthening. A lot of times the front of the neck is weak and the muscles at the back and side of the neck are tight. So I just showed you how to stretch those, but how we might want to strengthen the muscles in the front of the neck is some different neck exercises. So a really basic one is going to be called a chin retraction, and all you're going to do is you're going to pull back. You're going to like give yourself a double chin. And you're going to hold this for like 10 or 20 seconds. Then you're going to relax for a little bit. Then you pull back and you relax for maybe 10 seconds. And you pull back for 20 seconds. That's a really basic neck exercise. You could also do some other neck exercises like laying on your bed with your head off of the edge. So that would essentially look something like this. Let's just lay on my back here with my head on the floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my head so that it's in line with my body, and I'm going to hold it here, hovering above the ground. And just as if I was standing with my ears over my shoulder, that's what I'm doing here, right? I'm not holding it up, I'm not slouching forward, I'm in a straight line, and I'm working those neck muscles. And if you hold that for a while, you might feel sore the next day if those muscles are kind of sleepy. So that's what I got for you. I've shown you sitting, standing, walking, console gaming, pros and cons, as well as different ideas for setups, and then some stretching and whatnot afterwards. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Happy to assist. And I hope you found this video to be insightful. If you enjoyed the video, drop me a sub and a comment. Catch me live on my Twitch channel, Dwarf Lord TV, to connect with me or say hi to me in game on any of my characters. Dwarf Lord out.
And they say that the Dwarf Lord could save us. I'm not gonna pave here and wait. I'll hold on to the beard of the Dwarf Lord. Watch as we heroic leap away.